Thank you for clicking on our video. This is Taking on the Thames. If you guys are regular viewers of Taking on the Thames, I'm sure that you would have seen this spot by now. Although this was not my first choice of spot today, and float fishing, which is what we're going to be doing, is not my first choice of method either. But yesterday we had a huge downpour of rain, and that has really increased the level of the river and really increased the level of the flow as well. We started off a lot further down by the weir, and the flow was just, it was impossible to fish. You threw the rod out, I had a 4-ounce lead on there, and it was literally being pulled down river like a marlin had picked it up or something. But unfortunately it wasn't, it was literally just the flow of the water picking it up. Not only that, but there was also a lot of debris around both lines. I had both rods out on feeders, this one on the normal maggot feeder. I had the bigger rod out on some worms. But we're gonna have to just kind of readjust ourselves. We're back in this wind because if some of you haven't seen this, this has got like a whirlpool effect in this area because we're right close to the entrance of this bay. We're literally sitting on an island right now. We had quite a bit of crap in the river the last time we was down, but today there is all sorts floating down. I've seen a football so far, there's rubbish, like plastic bottles and tree branches and whatever. It's because of that crazy weather that we had last night, which might completely and utterly kill the fishing off, or it could have the opposite effect and really bring out the bigger stuff, you know. Water's got a bit more colour to it today than what it usually has. What I need to do is I need to start flicking some of these maggots out there, which aren't in the best condition today. It's not going very well today, I tell you. It never goes well down here. Flicked them all over myself. We are not starting on a good note. We've had to move already. We've had to swap what we had planned to do. But who knows? Trips that start like this could end superb. But first things first, I need to catch myself some bait. So what is going on here? Just fishing my usual spot, just off the edge of this tree that's next to me here. Bites are certainly nowhere near what they were in the summer months. Which could be a good sign. It could be a good sign because it could mean that all the tiny stuff has gone now. This catapult's not behaving today. Threw some ground bait out there already. But right now I'd really like to get ourselves something to put on this pike rod. Not a good sign when the float is this slow. Maybe it's these maggots. I'm using bronze maggots today rather than the white maggots that I usually use. Yes, okay, we're going to knock this a bit deeper, I think. Maybe that will improve things. What's going on down here in our old perch spot? Anything? Little bite there. Might be a bit too deep for down there. Nothing. Whip it out there then. what I should do is I've got some gloves because I'm sick of getting stabbed by perch. You can probably see the leaves are definitely coming down thick and fast off the tree now. Summer is done, mate. Come on now. Jesus. All sorts of things flying off the tree. Might slap one of them big old worms on in a minute. What we'll do is we'll get rid of that big old nubbly bit. And I'm putting a worm back on this bigger rod because catching a bait isn't being very successful right now to put on there for a pike, so might as well chuck it out there with something. Still got the worms on there from last chuck. I'll just whack this back out. Knock the sensitivity down on that a bit. I'm going to go back on the maggots on this. If we catch a bait, we can always bang it on the head. Save it for later. These bronze maggots make your fingers look like you've been smoking 7,000 cigarettes. Not a fan of that, that's for sure. Come on now, something. Trickle some out. What a difference a day makes on this river, honestly. This is silly. What's silly about it is that this would probably be a good time to be fishing on the luncheon meat, have both rods out on alarms and just sit back and wait for a bite off of a barbel or something, because even float fishing down here, where I know that just last week there was hundreds of perch down here. Not even a bite. Not even a bite on a float with 2 maggots on it. There's a bite, and there's exactly what I expect to see in this spot. A tiny, tiny, tiny green stripy perch there. First fish of the day. Not spectacular, because ideally what we want is some silvers that we can put on the pike rod, but if this guy was 20 times bigger than that, it would be worth it. So we'll continue down that spot. But I did just see a twitch on the big boy rod there. I've lowered the sensitivity right down, so I'm not expecting to get a beep unless something runs with it. But although I've got a size 6 hook on there, a small perch is probably going to be able to do that, and I think that's exactly what's on there. It's a small perch. Or nothing. Nothing. But there's also no worm on there either. So I'll put a worm back on this. A whole one. And maybe that's just going to be our best bet today, is to hopefully snag on a decent perch at some point, whether it be this rod or this feeder rod on the maggots. But if we do get a silver, any silvers that are worth putting on the pike rod, then, or swapping this rod over rather to a pike setup, then I will do that. But at the moment it's very quiet on the silvers. Double maggot again, not far out again, just under the rod tip. I've kind of got this big boy rod now, just covering that area. With a bit more colour to the water, you never know, fishing like this for the perch could entice a bigger perch out, because they're not going to be able to see me as well as they have been able to the last few weeks that we've been down on this area. Just amazing what the effect of one day of rain can have on the river. I could have tried going on the main flow, but I could have had the same problem as I've had when I went up closer to the weir earlier this morning. The flow could just be real harsh and just wipe all the rods out. And float fishing on that main flow is tricky stuff. Here's a slightly better. Oh, and it's a silver. Trouble is though, is that going to be a little bit too much for the pike rod? I think that's probably an okay size. A little chub, and I think I'll probably knock this guy on the head and stick him on the pike rod in a little bit. Just carry on fishing down here and see what we get turn up, if anything, you know. I'm quite surprised that I got this guy so close, because usually they're more likely to be a little bit further out and I'm getting a small perch down here, so maybe that's the trick today. So we'll have a couple more little goes down here, and I'll stick that chub on this other rod and not see if we can get a pike out today, and I'll get the worm off of that, because I do keep seeing a few twitches on there, but not enough to trip the alarm off. I mean, if a barbel or something did pick it up, then obviously it's going to trip the alarm off, but I need to remember I'm not fishing for marlin down this spot. Stop striking with every ounce of power that I've got. And these maggots I've got online are a joke, mate. They look like they're all dead, but they're not. It's just all the dead ones have kind of floated to the top. They're quite old now, about a week old. We're trying to skim some of the dead ones off the top, and use them for baiting up the area. I was quite surprised to get that chub so close in. But maybe that's what it is. The river's a bit higher, flow's a bit more, a bit stronger. Maybe they're just coming in closer to the bank to get out of that heavy flow. At least I don't have to strain my eyes to look at the float. Just gotta be careful I don't whip this into that other rod and get into a big old tangly mess. Try and get a few fish under our belt before we go swapping and changing for the worm. I'm getting a lot more bites. And another one. Similar size. Easy there, tiger. Oh, and that's him gone. Good job, brother. So that's weird, isn't it? Because I mean, with the slightly colder temperature, you would expect the fish to be a little bit further out in the deeper water, but they're not. They're real close in. Like I said, it must just be because of the amount of flow that's rushing through. They're preferring to sit back off of it a lot more, staying out of it, conserving their energy, I guess. Right, so we had this out with a cage feeder. The worm was gone again when I brought it in. So I think the trouble is even if you've got a big old worm on there, you are still going to have smaller fish just coming up and pecking away at it, trying to get a tasty morsel. So we'll get rid of this hook link and we'll put a wire trace on. And that first chub we had, we'll go on that wire trace. But I think I'll use an inline lead. Done me okay last time. It would run okay, you want it to be able to run a little bit, and these aren't too bad. I'm not going to go crazy and put my lead core leader and that on here. But what I will do is I'll still put a little bit of 10 pound fluorocarbon in between the two, just in case we do get snagged on anything. I'll put a shock bead on here as well. This bank tackle place, look it up if you haven't already. It's a great place for getting things like shock beads and swivels and little bits of terminal tackle. Rather than paying like £5 for a pack of 10, you get about 100 for the same price. Just need to chuck a swivel on now. He says that as he pulls out a pack of fox swivels. But if you're going to spend a little bit extra money on terminal tackle, hooks and swivels are probably what you need to spend your money on. Because the last thing you want is a cheap swivel failing on you and losing all your rig. But things like beads and whatever, don't see the point of spending so much money on them. Just going to do a normal granny knot there. 7 turns through the first loop and then out the second loop. Make sure it's all moist. Give it a damn good tug. Make sure that that ain't going nowhere. Trim off the tag. Not going mad with this fluorocarbon, you just want a little bit to give you something that's going to break. You know, I've got 20-pound main line on here because this is still set up from doing carp fishing. Plenty of moisture again, tighten it up. Cut off your tag. And then that just gives me a little bit of something that will break if we get snagged up. Get a wire trace out. In one end, out the other. But it's alright. And that little bit there, just like I said, gives you that little weak point in case you need to break anything off, and then you know that a fish ain't taking more line than it needs to. It's just going to take this trace with it. We've got a quick chain swivel here that we will stick on a big old circle hook. Now I could have left this chub alive and done this immediately, but chances are I'm going to get false readings on my bite alarm whenever he decides to have a little mooch about. So he is dead. A swift bang on the head. Straight through the tail of this. Nice and simple. And that is it. And then if this does get took, we just reel up to this. And hopefully hook a nice pike in the scissors. Not going miles out with it. Just a little tickle. Make sure we're up to the lead. Stick our dropper on. Give it some line to play with. Don't want it on the deck though, because I want it to have a little bit to drop back if necessary. So this spot has now had a little bit of a rest. We've got a whole bunch of dead maggots that we'll flick out over there. We'll drop this in. And we'll reel back if we need to. When that sun goes in and that wind picks up, it's a little bit on the chilly side. Around the old Neckolator area. Ooh. Might even have to slip a jacket on in a minute. Tickle a little handful out. all gone a bit quiet again. Maybe we've caught the only 3 fish that were down there. This flow doesn't seem to be able to make up its mind. 1 minute it's going that way, next minute it's going that way. Every now and then it just stopped dead in the middle. Okay, maybe they've moved out to the other spot. So we lower that down a bit. We get a bit of depth on there. And give it a bit more of a chuck. Both areas are baited up, so it's not like we're wasting our time here. If anything, the far end one is baited up more, which I kind of wish I gave it a few chucks to realise just how slow it was going before we chucked all that ground bait out there. If I knew it was going to be this slow, I would have held back a little bit on it. Right now it doesn't seem to be doing much in either or swim. Maybe I'll stick a worm on and stick it back down here under the rod tip. A little nibble there, but nothing to strike into. Too small again. I've just got a feeling that when it's out there doing that, it's not actually a fish. I think it's just, it might be debris dragging the float down. Make your mind up, son. You in or out? Oh, in the face. Slightly bigger Percy. In that same spot again, just let it drift down. Another cute little Percy perch, but again, it's by no means the size of which we would want to be catching these guys. But at least they're out here. At least we ain't blanking so far. Well, not so far. I suppose you can't blank once you've caught one, can you? But it's been tough, more tough than usual today, and I think that's just because of the change of weather. So let's slip this little guy back and see if we can't catch his big brother or something. Right, let's see if we can't just knock into a bigger perch than that. Stick into 2 maggots. Not going overkill, but I might slap a worm on in a minute. I'm going to keep it close again because that's just the only place really where we've had any success. Getting a couple of little knocks and whatever out a bit further, but I'm just not convinced that that's not debris. Every time I've struck, I've just not even like felt them on there and then come off. I'm just striking into nothing. I'm gonna stick to doing some little and often, trying to skim the odd dead maggot that's on the top of these off. It's a little pinch. It's just very tricky conditions today. The sun's in and out, in and out. Wind picks up and then it dies down. There's a big flow on the river. A dropping all round temperature. Probably a little bit of a shock to him today. I think maggots aren't even touched, you know. I'm getting attacked by the tree. Another little pinch. You've got to be careful with these pinches. I'm just not getting any bites whatsoever, you know what I mean? The last thing I want is a fish to come in and fill itself up on all these freebies I'm chucking out before it gets a chance to get to my hook bait. And they are so few and far between today. Well, this is more sort of feeder fishing speed. Maybe I'm a little bit over the depth there. Let's swing it out again, see what happens. No twitches on the pike rod, which is almost a good thing. At least we know it's not getting bombarded with leaves and weed. Hopefully if it does go off, it goes off with a big old pike on the end. Slight bite there, but weren't good enough to strike into. I thought about it, but it soon come back to the surface. It's been a funny old day today, I tell you. It's been super tough. I think it's just because we had that massive downpour of rain last night, and now we've had a few spots of rain today as well. The sun has been in and out all day long. It's been threatening it, but every now and then I just keep seeing spots all over the top of the water, and just now we started to feel a few, and we just cannot afford to keep this camera out at the moment in the rain. We can't get a bivvy out here anywhere. We haven't got a brolly or anything that we can cover it with. So on that disappointing note, I think we're going to have to leave it now till next time, of which I will be focusing more on the feeder again, trying to get down on the bottom. Hopefully the flow will calm down a little bit, the water might clear up a little bit as well, and maybe then will be the time we hook back into that mystery fish that we've had from down here before. But like I said so many times, we've got to keep persisting at this spot because we know we've had something decent. But until then guys, you know the score by now. I be Mark Payne. This be Taking on the Thames, and yep, the rain is definitely coming now. It's time to head home. I will see you later.